Oklahoma is in the mix for Cal grad transfer tailback Jaydn Ott. As the portal opens up as a grad transfer, you can transfer at any time. Let's talk about why this might be a good fit for Oklahoma, even as you got 4 or even 5 guys that you think can do the job. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question below. Do you think Jaydn Ott fits at Oklahoma or perhaps fits elsewhere? Now, a lot of things to unpack here, not the least of which is Jaydn Ott immediately becomes one of the most valuable skill players in the transfer portal or available to transfer as he's a grad transfer. But there's a caveat here. It's a guy that was coming off an ankle injury last year who rushed for 385 yards, averages 3.3 yards a carry. A far cry from his all Pac-12 performance the year before, 2023, when he rushed for over 1,300 yards and was the best tailback in what was once a proud Pac-12 conference. And now, the ACC and Cal, right? It just don't feel right on your skin. But, given some time, everything feels okay. Even thinking about Jaydn Ott going to Oklahoma. So Oklahoma has a potentially talented running back room. I don't think that is stretching it. Javante Barnes returns as a leading rusher. Gavin Sawchuk's in the mix. Taylor Tatum's in the mix. Xavier Robinson's in the mix. Sam Franklin's in the mix. You've got dudes that you think can do the job. A lot to cycle through. But there is a bugaboo here for me. And it begins with what the running back room has not done over the last few years. Okay? You got to go back to 2022 for the last time that Oklahoma had a 1,000-yard rusher. Okay. Talking about Eric Gray, who went for over 1,300 yards. But it hasn't been a room that has produced a ton in the 2020s. As a matter of fact, I think Kennedy Brooks is the other dude that goes for 1,000 yards for the last 5 years. Before that, you got to go back to Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray era, which, is Lincoln Riley. So we're really talking about Brent Venables is Oklahoma here and what the running backs have been able to do. Now, they had a guy, Tawee Walker, that we thought could do it. He goes into the portal, comes out at Wisconsin, busts somebody up to the white meat for 198 yards, ends up transferring out of there. And I think, you're still looking for that kind of production. Oklahoma's always been good when they've had a thunder and lightning combo, when they've had a guy that is great between the tackles and a guy that can break away and get away from people. I mean, I don't mind saying it. Alan Patrick and Chris Brown, that was fun to watch. A lot of people don't even know who that is right now. But if you're an Oklahoma fan or you're a Big 12 fan, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You had these dudes that had breakaway speed. You had these dudes that had wiggle. You had these dudes that could hit people. Our favorite combination, though, probably Samaj P. Ryan and Joe Mixon, right? That was the thunder and lightning combo that really propelled Oklahoma into being a competitive playoff team and really turned Oklahoma into one of those programs that you had to watch year in and year out. Since then, Oklahoma's been searching, right? Fell into something with a really fantastic year with Dylan Gabriel as quarterback, and you had wideouts that could play. Now, after the failing of Jackson Arnold, right, finding out that perhaps Mike ain't the guy, Michael Hawkins Jr. ain't the guy, you're trying to redo this again with a young offensive coordinator in Ben Arbuckle and a promising quarterback in John Mateer. If you add a Jaydn Ott to his side, how much better is that offense? How much better is Dion Burks when you're trying to streak down the sideline? How much better is the defense if you can control the line of scrimmage and control the ball by running it well? There's also this caveat that I think is always important. You can never have enough running backs, talented running backs. It's just true, right? If you can afford to go get a Jaydn Ott, you go get him. But I think of Texas last year and how a deep running back room really was the sauce for them. They lost their #1 tailback and their #3 tailback in succession, right? They were left with Quintravion Wiesner, Jarrett Gibson, right? And you're having to make that work. They did a great job, right? They did a really great job. Quintravion Wiesner came on in a huge way, and now they expect to be even better than they were last year with Arch Manning taking over as the quarterback. Now, if you're Oklahoma, you know that game's on your schedule. You know you need to be able to run the ball against a very talented Texas front, very talented Texas defense. Jaydn Ott can help you if he's healthy. I understand that. I get that. I think that if you can go get him, you go get him. Now, Jaydn Ott's going to be wanted by a number of people. Like, even down the way there at USC, where they lost Quinn Joyner to Texas Tech, they might be interested. there's a lot of people that are going to be interested in a talented running back and a guy that they watched up close run through them or run around them. I also think as we're getting closer to the end of this particular era of NIL, where we're going to get we think, right, the salary cap for roster management, $20.5 million spread across the entire athletic department, thinking like $13 million of that is going to go to football. You're also into the cash grab aspect of this. This is how we get to the Nico Iamaleava of it all, right? I think you're also looking at a Cal room that lost a bunch of tailbacks for reasons, right? Also got a new quarterback over there in probably Devin Brown, we think. We'll see. It could be simply that he wanted to test the market. And as a grad transfer, this is the time. Like, it's one thing to go into the transfer portal as an outstanding prospect, an outstanding player. It's another thing to go in as a grad transfer because you are not really on their books in the same way. People are not holding a grudge against you because you graduated, you did your time, you got your degree. And the mood around the program is much better for you because you're walking in as a mature being. Like, I continue to think that it's one of the coolest things that we've been able to do in modern college football is allow grad transfers to transfer immediately and play right away. I think it's a great joy. I think it's a benefit to both universities. You're able to move on a guy that is always going to be attached to your program, who's always going to be a guy that you like, and that guy gets to go to a program that might be able to contend in a way that the previous program could not, and walk in as not a mercenary, right, like some might think, but a guy on a rental that just wants to be a part of the team, right? Riley Leonard, Notre Dame. Will Howard, Ohio State. Both of those guys connected to their previous programs in ways that you can't sever, right? Duke and Kansas State. With Jaden, I think the same thing is going to be true. And I think you look at the running back heritage at Oklahoma, and it is a place that I think running backs want to play. With DeMarco Murray as your running backs coach, with the best player to not win the Heisman Trophy, and Adrian Peterson being one of the better running backs in the history of the sport. All the way down, right? This used to be a place where 1,000-yard rushers were produced. Like, this is where you go if you want to be a 1,000-yard rusher. And it wasn't that long ago when 1,900 yards didn't seem that big a deal at a place like Oklahoma. Now, to get a 1,900-yard tailback at Sooners, man, my goodness. Coming off a year in which Oklahoma was very much a disappointment. Very, very, very much a disappointment. Especially knowing that you were able to beat up on an Alabama team that previously was ranked number 1 in the country. All you had to do was put all that together, right? Put that together for a full year. Now you've been forced to retool, right? You had to fire the offensive coordinator. You had to find a new offensive coordinator. Had to fire effectively the quarterback, go find a new quarterback. And then Zach Alley, I think, threw a curveball in that he decided to leave the defensive coordinator position in Oklahoma to go to West Virginia. Not something I thought would have even been possible 20 years ago because one is just a clearly better job. Now you have Brent Venables calling the defense, right? Which is, I think, something that everybody's wanted since Brent Venables became head coach at Oklahoma. And now you got Jim Nagy pulling the strings as a general manager, being front-facing, talking to all the right people, being able to evaluate talent in real time. And that's the thing that really sells me on Jaydn Ott to Oklahoma. If he thinks that Jaydn Ott can help, he's going to go get him. And he should, because nobody knows more and has seen more football the last couple of years at each level than Jim Nagy. Because of his connection to the Senior Bowl, he has been able to evaluate NFL prospects and college prospects everywhere all the time, in everybody's room. He knows what they have. So ostensibly, he knows what Jaydn Ott is about, and he knows that that is a player that can help them if he is healthy. So I think given an opportunity, Jaydn Ott could be great. But let's not forget, Oklahoma's got potentially great tailbacks in that room already, and that room might end up being a strength of an OU offense that desperately needs to find a way to move the ball and score points in 2025.